Hello, Warlords. Welcome to Saga Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from Studio Tomahawk. Joined by Austin once again for a faction review. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, we just chatted a couple months ago, and you've graciously volunteered to come back and chat about the Milites Christi. Um, So at the time, you were the only guy I ever heard of that played them, but now I think the secret's out. These guys are the new hot sauce.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about hot sauce.
All right, yeah.
Warm
So
sauce.
we're gonna delve into the mysteries of this faction. So a couple things. I am getting over a cold. I still got the sniffles here, so you might hear some sounds there. And I've also there's some home renovation going on underneath me, so there might be some sounds there. And then to boot, our internet connection doesn't seem to be too strong, but we're forging ahead anyways. So there could be a couple technical issues, but we're gonna press on. So the Milites Christi. Do you go back to first edition, Austin, of Saga?
No. I've only played it in second edition.
Okay. Yeah, so this has got to be a case of one of the most popular factions ever completely going over a cliff when the second edition comes out. This was probably the most, if you were playing Age of Crusades, it was like a 50-50 chance that you were going up against Milites
Oh,
Christi.
okay.
Um, and the board mechanics were very simple, super defensive. I actually kind of disliked them because you would spend the first couple turns just not doing anything, but spending your saga dice to soup yourself up. And then you would go superpower, supercharge on turn 3 or 4. And if you're a newbie player or something like that, that's pretty easy to grasp. And then once second edition came out, that changed completely. So I didn't like that mechanic. I'm glad to see it go. But on the flip side, we got something a little more complicated, something probably more of a Saga veteran would be more comfortable with. What do you say about that? Can a newbie play this board or not? Would you say?
I think so. They really need to do one thing, and that's charge. They're very aggressive. They move forward, and that's one of their downsides. But yeah, I think that it's a very simple board. You've got the Orison mechanic, which I'm sure we'll go into,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not that difficult to pick up. The tricky bit is knowing when to play it, but that comes with a couple of practice games.
Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah. You're just going in. You're not messing around. You're not hitting and running. Well, maybe you
No,
are, but you're probably just hitting, I would guess.
just hit and hit and hit.
Yeah. But they do have some really interesting abilities in the way that they're set up. So we'll get into those. But first, let's talk about the equipment. Warlords and Hearthguards mounted on horses. No options there. You've got warriors, which can be no special equipment on foot. They can be mounted or have crossbows, and you can't have more crossbows than Hearthguard in your list. And finally, no levies. That's kind of interesting, but it makes sense if it's the military order. Every guy's got to be trained up and probably a suitable badass. So no losers hanging around with them, I guess. So what are you taking? Are you taking some crossbows, leaving them at home?
I take crossbows. I normally take 3 points of Hearthguard, so then I can take 12 crossbows.
Oh, nice. So about half your warriors
I'll
with
leave me a little
crossbows.
4 pack of warriors as a dice generator.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, all of them. Yeah, so I'll do usually a unit of 12 with crossbows, a unit of 4 as a dice generator, with remaining 3 units of Hearthguard in 3 units of 4,
3
and then
units of 4.
maybe a mercenary unit.
Okay. Yeah, we
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about
Turcopoles
our
as well.
friends the Turcopoles. Yeah,
Yeah, almost an
definitely
auto take, I think, for these.
definitely a good choice.
Sometimes I'll drop one of the warrior units and take Eastern Horse, because there's a trick you can do with those.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that, I'm sure, when that relevant ability comes up. But all right, yeah, you're quite constrained here. So yeah, if you are a newbie, there's not a lot of decision points to be made here. Yeah, pretty straightforward, favoring Hearthguard, like a lot of war bands in the Age of Crusades. Not a surprise there. So let's jump to the battle board. If you don't have any levies, then you got an extra space on the battle board to put something fun in there. So it's the Orison ability. It's an uncommon or rare melee or shooting reaction. After enemies roll their attack dice, automatically canceled an enemy hit. 2 if you use a rare. So I guess the one key thing here, this is before you roll the defense dice. If you take 5 hits, you just knock one off. You only took 4 hits and roll 4 defense dice plus if you do sneak in some extra there. So if you could do it after the defense dice,
and before the hits.
What's that?
And before the hits as well, so you don't know how many hits you're going to take.
Yeah, they could just miss them all. Especially with shooting. If you're armor 5 or 6 or something, it can make a difference there. But so there are several Saga advanced abilities that will interact with this one and kind of load it up for you. So I guess, will you just spend dice? Will you put dice in this box? When orders phase, you don't just rely on those other abilities.
Do both.
Okay. What? I guess when are you loading this one up? Are you?
Certainly, I find it's very late game because it keeps your units alive. And by that time, they've taken a bit of a beating. Hopefully, your opponent has as well, and you can use this to keep things going. There's also an ability you can use it to generate auto hits. So if I get the right dice, I'll load it up to use that. I'm taking on a warlord or something with resilience.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that can be quite tasty. Yeah, I like the late game. That kind of makes sense. I mean, if you're going to take 8 hits, taking it down to 7, it doesn't feel quite, maybe mathematically it's still worth it. Yeah. But, if you're only taking 2 hits and knocking it down to 1, and you only have 3 Hearthguard left, or, in a unit that feels like it can make a bigger difference to the outcome, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and you can use this one as many times as you want, which is pretty cool. And you can even use it with mercenaries since it's up top here. So, yeah, great ability. Nice to have that one in your back pocket. Let's jump down to the battle board. So first up, we have Resolve, and that is was that a common and uncommon? Gotta remember my dice here.
Yes, common and uncommon.
Yeah, okay. Melee or shooting reaction. If your warband has fewer units than the enemies, take 2 of your available Saga dice and place them face on Orison with the uncommon. So it's going to block 1 hit face up. So you can use 1 common die and get 2 out of it, which isn't too shabby.
Again, especially late game when perhaps you've got fewer units.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's probably like a
common,
like a sequence of events things too, where you have to have dice available. So maybe you spend your dice on activations, and then halfway through the turn, you can put that. What is it? Unavailable, or it's a specific terminology there. But is this just a regular ability for you every turn? Is this a good one?
It's not every turn. But I do use it quite a lot, and it's one of the ways to boost up the Orison. Again, if you're going to use the ability later on that gives you auto hits.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you another couple of auto hits in there.
What's the most dice you've ever had on the Orison?
Well,
is there
almost all of them sometimes.
That's what I was thinking. Kind of like
flags on there and a couple of uncommons.
Yeah,
6 auto hits then if you're going to play it with Divine Aid.
I'm picturing like a Norsgale thing where sometimes you get 5 or 6 or 7 of them up there. So you're saying that that's not impossible to go for that play? Okay, cool.
Yeah, you'll see later. There's another one as well which can load it up quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. All right. Let's pop down to Lions at War. This is kind of an interesting one here. Uncommon or rare activation reaction. Trigger this ability after an enemy activates a charge, but before it's resolved. The charge unit gets 4 bonus attack dice, 6 if you used a rare. So this is kind of interesting. It plays like a melee ability, but it's activation reaction. So we could use this with mercs if we wanted. Be a cheeky boy. Is this the Eastern?
This is the one, yeah. So this is the one with the Eastern Horse.
The Eastern Horseman. So the Eastern Horsemen, they can trade all their attack dice for defense dice. So if they generate 4 bonus attack dice, you can get 8 defense dice. That's pretty awesome. That's right. That's fun.
And you normally, I try and keep them with the Turcopoles because they generate another 2 for them.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So you end up sat within medium of his line, of your opponent's line. You're generating 10 defense dice, and then the following turn, it's 2 shots with the horse, with the Eastern Horse. It's a shot, then a move, then another shot, and then the Turcopoles get their free shot, and then they move behind, and next turn you've got 10 defense dice again.
Oh, funny. Yeah, I like that idea with the mercs providing the shooting. Just forget the crossbows. It's another way to go about it. So this one's pretty cool because you can kind of soup up a unit. I'm assuming there's other abilities which will get you additional attack dice. So this is going to be bonus dice at kind of the first step. So your Hearthguard, 2 Hearthguard can go from 4 to 8 with this one, and then later on you could trigger some melee abilities and go from 8 to 12, 16 or what, versus.
And it's there's no defense other than the Orison. There's no real defensive abilities on the board. So it's almost like a defensive ability in itself because they know if they attack you, and especially if you've got a flag on it, you've already got, let's say it's your 4-pack of Hearthguard, they're on 8 attack dice, and they're getting another 6 because you're going to play this. So it's suddenly that's a lot of attack dice when your opponent's attacking you.
Yeah, beware.
So it makes people think twice maybe.
If you got a rare on
the
there.
rare on there is really, absolutely, 6 attack dice is nice.
Yeah. That makes a big difference because, like, 3 Hearthguard, you might think to yourself, oh, yeah, I'm going to jump that little unit there. And then
easy pickings.
if you got 12 attacks, you're like, oh, dang, gosh. And then it could get even further. Pretty nasty here. So, yeah, I think this is cool. It could have just been another melee type ability, but he made it an activation reaction, which I think is
I try
cool.
and get something on it every turn.
Okay, one of the better ones.
Yeah, it's really good to have.
Is this where the rare would go then? I guess I haven't looked. Doesn't look like there's too much.
No, the only other place you can wear is on bended knee, which we'll come across. That's the only other place you could use a rare, really. Or Orison.
Besant, can you? It doesn't make it better. It's interesting.
No, it doesn't make it any better.
It kind of looks like some boards. They're like, guys, you forgot to do something with the rare. Like there should have been like one or 2 more things to do. Yeah, could have helped out.
It's the uncommon dice is all over this board.
That's the one. That's tough because there's always some turn that's just all commons.
Or you get all rares.
Or all well, yeah. All right, let's go down to Deus Vault. Melee 2 dice. There's actually 3 2 dice abilities on this board. I think that's more than usual. Uses a common and uncommon melee. Hearthguards are a hero. If the enemy unit is a levy unit, you inflict 1 additional automatic hit for each figure in your unit. And I love the idea of this because I just hate levies and trying to kill levies. It can take a long time. Now you are kind of capped to the size of your unit. So you just run 4 packs generally.
I haven't used this one much. I find in the games I've played, levy tend to be it's your archers and they're in cover where you're not going to take horses. So getting hold of them is quite difficult. And I run the smaller units because of, for Boson, as we'll see in a bit. So generally you're not getting a lot of bang for your buck with it, and they're levies. So you plunge in there with it and do a lot of auto hits, but often levies are only on a 3 anyway. If you're going up against something with with the standard infantry levy, that could be good. I do remember a game I played at our local club, and my opponent put on an Anglo-Saxon levy bomb for me to try this against, and I fielded a 12 pack of Hearthguard to see how that worked out. and that That was quite fun as we
Wow.
eliminated each levy unit in turn. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So that was
is going to be kind
16
of my
attack dice plus
question.
12 auto hits.
You know, Anglo-Saxons, Byzantines, would you kind of mob them up into a 6 or 8
Yeah,
pack
definitely. If you
potentially?
know you're going up against something levy heavy, then this could be good. But I just not come across too many of those armies.
Yeah, but you are right. It's 2 dice. It's expensive. Levies are
Yeah.
pretty easy to hit anyway. So if you just get attack dice somehow, every one of those attack dice probably will be an automatic hit anyways,
Mm.
mathematically speaking. And then you're right. As Hearthguards are heroes only, you have to be mounted. So if they're generally in the woods, they could be in anything, and all
Yeah,
of a
you're not
sudden
going there to take it.
so yeah, pretty pricey. Probably not worth it, but I like the idea. I think the old version you would just kill. It would just be casualties for
Oh,
every one would just cause a casualty. So
oh, nice.
that was the old days. We shan't speak of that business. Let's move on to Spilt Blood. This is a melee ability. The enemy unit's armor may not be increased until the end of the melee. So doesn't do anything by itself. Never great for a saga ability. This is uncommon. I guess if you're going on the attack run, a multi-activation to get some Hearthguard or Warlord maybe could be good. Are you using this one a lot? Where's the trick?
Not too often. You can use it in conjunction with Lambs of Peace in certain circumstances, as we'll see in a bit. But on its own, I rarely use it. I suppose if you've got a few fatigues, it forces your opponent not to put their armor up, but then they're probably going to just take your armor down instead.
Yes,
So
that
I
is.
found it too useful.
They might just, they were probably, they might have been planning to do that anyways. If half the time you're attacking with Hearthguard, generally it's the Hearthguard going down in their
Yeah,
armor versus you're trying to keep whatever alive. So, just one not great on its own. You kind of got to know what you're doing to get the most out of it. Let's go down to the Lord's Harvest. 2 die ability, 2 uncommons. It's got to be good for two uncommons, right? Melee Hearthguards are heroes once again. Gain an attack die for each unit in the enemy warband. And then they even put a little maximum of 6 in there just to
yeah,
kick in the gonads. So Lions at War will give you, it's defensive. It could give you 4 or 6 for 1 die, and this is 2. I guess, do you have other options to get attack die? Are you still using this?
yeah.
Just
So
kind of
I've hardly ever used this. It's expensive. Besant down below it will give you almost as many attack dice. And it's 2 uncommons, and you need uncommons for a lot of other things. So I've hardly ever used this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. This is kind of, when you look at a lot of battle boards and kind of look at how things are costed, this one is a pretty stingy ability in the way that it kind of comes out there. You even just had to put that max of 6 on there. If they didn't put it, you could at least, when you're going up against pagan peoples,
That's true.
really have some fun. But unfortunately, it's a little pricey for what it does. Especially there's a similar ability below that we're going to get to.
Yep.
All right. Lambs of Peace. This is a common or uncommon melee ability. All units in the melee increase their armor by 1, or 2 if the enemy unit contains more figures than yours. So all units to me sounds like my guys and your guys. That's
Yes,
right.
it is. So it's both sides. So it's great if you're being attacked and you're not, you perhaps closed ranks with your foot warrior maybe, and you're not too concerned about how much damage you do to your opponent. You can just put everybody's armor up. Where it's used in conjunction with Spilt Blood, you play Spilt Blood first, so the opponent can't put their armor up, and then you use it to put your armor up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a slight problem with the if the enemy unit contains more figures than you. So if you're outnumbered, your Hearthguard can't then use it technically. because they can't go 2 up on their armor.
Well, actually, usually I don't look at the clarification in the book section, but this time I did. It did clarify that you can use it. It just caps out.
Okay.
It caps out your armor at 6, so you can use it. There's a lot of times when I do these, I have questions or saucy takes, and they are addressed in that additional write-up section. So, did my due diligence this time. Usually I don't, but I went in there. So, yeah, I think this was kind of cool because the Hearthguard, if you could just take their armor up by 1, they become really quite resilient if you're hitting them on 6s, and you just want to stay alive, so you don't care if you're necessarily doing damage. The combo with Spilt Blood is pretty cool, but then it's like another 2 die. It's like another 2 die ability.
Yeah.
The 4th one on the board, and so it sounds like you will be outnumbered most of the times. So I don't even then it kind of goes against you, because if you're all you need to do is go from 5 to 6, and so the 2's wasted, but they still go up by 2. So it's almost like worse. And you could think of a situation.
Unless you play the Spilt Blood first.
Oh, yeah, there you go. But
like you say, that's then a common and an uncommon to do that.
But the moving 2 armor is pretty good. There isn't a lot in Saga that can do that, especially just on 1 ability. So that means kind of even if your Hearthguard are fatigued, you'll still be armor 6. Even if they take you down.
Yeah, but it's unlikely he's going to take you down knowing that you're going to put yourself back up to 6. So.
That's true. Yeah. Well, then there's like a timing thing going on, too.
Again, late game, perhaps you've got some smaller units of warriors left, little 4-packs, 5-packs, and they might be outnumbered, so you could pop their armor up twice. Maybe your crossbows have taken a bit of a beating, so you can use it there to bump them up to 6.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, a little warrior unit like that. That's kind of cool, actually, because then you can kind of... because sometimes you'll chuck in those little units just to, put a fatigue on a warlord or a different unit. And this way, at least you stay alive. You're not like giving them free points when you're setting up, the hammer blow that's going to follow. So that's pretty cool. I like this one. There's kind of that similar ability on the Pagan Roost board, and I really like that ability. So I like this ability. It's one of those.
I've not played the mounted warriors at all, but I'm now thinking small units of mounted warriors could be interesting playing with this.
Mm-hmm. Because you could kind of
pop them up to 6.
Put them up to 6.
Yeah,
soften,
makes them quite dangerous.
Soften somebody up for a punch down the road. Could be good. All right. So, Besant melee unit gains 3 attack dice, 5 if the enemy contains more figures for uncommon or rare. So 1 die, you're already getting at least 3, probably 5, because you're going to set up your warband with specifically take advantage of this.
This is why I take the smaller units. I use this almost all the time, and that's why I don't really play Lord's Harvest very much, because this is almost as good, and it's 1 dice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you can make a little Hearthguard unit super nasty in defense combined with Lions at War. 2 guys can go from 4 to 8 to 13 attacks. Come on in. Let's party. Let's play. Solid ability. Can't complain about this. 5 attacks for 1 dice. Pretty darn tasty. So,
one thing to bear in mind while we're talking about this board, of course, you're always a bit short of dice because a couple of them are probably an Orison. And they're probably uncommons as well that are an Orison.
Orison.
When you talk about combos and we can use this and that and the other, you're always stretched for dice with the Milites board.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, it kind of favors you the small units, more Saga dice for generation. It kind of works for you. All right, let's jump up to Martyrs. This is an uncommon or a common melee shooting reaction. At the end of the shooting attack or melee, take 1 of your available Saga dice for each figure removed from your unit as a casualties. Place them on Orison with the common face up. So another way to fill her up there. So this is the one where you're all out of Orison or defensive abilities. You're like, all right, just kill the Hearthguard and I'll get some Orison juice later. Or I don't know. It's an ability where you're planning for your guys to die, though. Do you
Yeah, I haven't
use
used it
it?
much. When I have used it, it never seems to work, and I end up either losing hardly anyone, so I never get anything out of it.
Yeah, it might be a karma play because whatever. If you pop this, it's definitely gonna reduce the number of casualties you take. I think.
Yeah,
Just karma wise. So I'm liking that play there. You hit me on fives. You shouldn't be doing anything. I'll just pop this just to be sure, though.
yeah.
Yeah, not bad. So how are you doing for? I guess Orison is your main shooting defense on this board. I'm looking. I'm not seeing any. Yeah,
Yeah, yes.
that's
'Cause, yeah,
basically
the only
it.
thing you've got resolve, but then that just fills Orison up.
Hmm.
So you do suffer against the shooters.
Okay, I think Orison's pretty good. It's for
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Orison than like combat bonus defense die because it removes a die for
I don't
sure.
think
Versus
I don't think I've ever used the combat bonus on this board
yeah, I can't.
because you've got plenty that give you attack dice, and you'd always use Orison instead of getting a defense dice with combat bonus.
Yeah,
I suppose if you had a lot of commons, maybe.
that would be the only reason is if you just didn't have the uncommons. But martyrs and resolve, both of those are commons. So eventually they will, load it
Yeah.
up. Maybe not when at the timing could get messed up. If it's like their first attack. But I don't know. You could pop both of them in that same. I mean, they shoot you. You could pop resolve and martyrs in that same. I mean, martyrs won't take effect until afterwards, but resolve would take effect
But
immediately.
the trouble, if you play resolve and then you're going to save some hits due to having Orison, you're probably not going to take any casualties to get any more with martyrs.
Yeah.
So
So that's yeah. God darn logic coming into play.
you end up playing martyrs when
my-
it's just an odd one that you end up playing it when you're going to lose figures, and you seem to never really know when you're going to lose figures.
Okay.
It's almost like you need to, see ahead into the future a bit.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. You never want to plan to lose guys. You're starved for dice, like you're saying. So
Yeah.
trying to have, this is kind of like a icing on the cake kind of a ability versus something you'd make sure to load up each time.
And it's not going to stop what you're doing. So, I was thinking perhaps if you had an objective and you were desperate to keep hold of the objective, you could use it to. But that doesn't help because you'll take the casualties first.
Yeah,
It's not going to help you in that
helps
melee.
helps the next combat. So you'd have to
the next combat.
Yeah, I don't know. There are
I've not used it much.
with objectives and that you could see. I'll sacrifice this unit to do something. You could see a weird sequence of events, but on a regular game, probably not going to be using it too much. All right. On bended knee. So this one you could use any die. So orders. So take up to 3 of your available Saga dice, place them on the Orison. And if you use a rare, oh baby, you get to put them with the rare side face up. So
The one you use, you get to place up there as well as the 3.
if you put the how does it work with the rare? Is it all 3 of them?
So if you play a rare on it, the rare goes up onto Orison,
Mm-hmm.
and then you take 3 of you available, and they go up with the horse showing up.
Oh, so it's 1 rare and then 3 regular ones.
Yep.
And you get to use okay. Interesting. There is a downside though. I didn't get to it.
There is a downside. Yeah.
You can't activate any units to charge this turn. So
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
So late game, this is invaluable. You've got lots of now. By late game, you've got some Saga dice free. You're trying to keep the units alive. Hopefully, your crossbows are now doing the most of the damage because your horses have been knocked around a bit, and this is keeping everybody happy because there's lots on Orison.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I could see that when towards the end of the game, it's just trying to get away with those objectives, trying to hold them. You're not going to be launching an attack. You're low on Saga dice.
Points, trying to keep things going.
Yeah, you're low on Saga dice, so you actually have 3 available dice plus if you use the rare. Kind of a big big
and it's up to
limitation
3
there.
as well. So if you've only got 2 available, you can put them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's 2. You could use a common and just pop up 2 or 3 or more. Yeah, I guess if you know you're not going to charge, it's actually pretty good value. One
Yeah,
common.
sometimes you have those turns where you're moving stuff around or just getting things ready to go for the following turn. And you
Yeah,
can
and
load it
even
up.
like certain scenarios, first turn of the game, you're not doing anything necessarily, and you just want to load up some defense. Efficient way to do that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, not too shabby. Now let's round it out with the last 2 commons. Divine Aid melee. Discard all the dice on Orison. The enemy suffers an additional automatic hit for each die thus discarded. 2 hits for each rare discarded up top there. So you got to spend 2 dice for this, and then you got to have the dice up there. So you can think of it kind of as a pricey ability, but automatic hits sounds like it's worth it with everything going on.
Yeah, this is where you can. I mean, if you've been fortunate enough to use Unbended Knee the turn before, maybe not use some Morrison, there may be some left in there. And this is certainly where you could try and use Resolve to add 2 in there, so that'll be 2 auto hits with it. And of course, if you've rolled any flags or any of the horses, then you can put them straight in. So it's probably the only thing you're doing this turn if you play it, but it's good for taking out warlords and things.
Yeah, it's good for that one cheeky Hearthguard who's left, or you don't have to use it on Hearthguard. You can just have one cheeky warrior left and charge into the warlord and plop 2, 3, or 4 auto hits onto them.
If you've managed to get a couple of flags in Orison and a couple of uncommons, that's 6 auto hits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Anytime you get auto hits in Saga, you're sitting pretty good. A little pricey, you could say it's fairly costed, but yeah, turns the defensive nature of Orison into an attack version of it. So it's pretty cool that they included that kind of mechanic here. I think it adds some fun here. Yeah. So can you give me a Divine Aid story about how the Divine Aid came down and swung the game?
I've used it a couple of times. Yeah, just simply for that. You can load up the Orison. I use it quite commonly. Mm-hmm. It's certainly not one that it's not like a Ragnarok or something like that. It's definitely one if you can if you know that you're going to be taking that warlord on.
Sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about. So if you are running the crossbows, like how are you kind of using them in conjunction with this board and the abilities? Are they kind of just outside of the abilities, using Orison to keep them alive mainly, or?
Yeah, I mean it's getting into that hard cover normally, central or to one side of the terrain area, and move the horse around them. It's use the Orison, maybe the Lambs of Peace as well can bring up their armor, and just
the Lambs of Peace could be good.
A lot of people forget that they're actually warriors, so they see a 12 pack or 12 unit, a 12-man unit, and come charging in, and of course they're warriors, so you get 12 attack dice. So they're not that easy to kill.
Yeah,
or they certainly do some
a
damage
lot of times,
in melee as well.
Those units will have to stretch to get into that combat that turn, with a fatigue or 2 fatigues, and it's kind of unbalanced going in just to make it happen, so you can kind of catch them out. It's not just
perhaps
the 4
if you've
attacks.
got lines of war running, lines of war with another 6 attack dice puts you on 18.
Yeah, that's right. Try to sneak them in. Besant on top of it. All of a sudden, you got like 20 plus attacks with your crossbow warriors.
The other way to go is with the standard warriors. So you lose your crossbows, but I've played them a couple of times. But now you can close ranks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes them quite good. And again, they have all the other abilities. So yeah, they're pretty good.
Awesome.
So there's plenty of options with the forces.
Mm-hmm. Now, So what is your toughest challenge here as the Milites?
Shooters, I think. Shooty armies, yeah. There's not huge amounts, and you're on horses, so cavalry always suffer against shooter armies. And the other one is like I've said before, it tends to be quite a simple board. So your opponent knows what you're going to do. He knows the crossbow are just going to sit there and shoot out. So if you need be, you can just stay out along with them, and he knows you're just going to charge at him. There's not much, there's no trickery here.
Yeah, everything's pretty straightforward.
It's all honest. It's an honest board.
Yeah, it's just an honest fighting board. So, have you taken it to an event before? Taking these guys for a spin?
You've done a couple with them. Yep, quite enjoyed it. I didn't, they placed in the middle of the table or so, but yeah. But yeah, they're fun to play. Definitely recommend them.
Yeah, I think if the objectives are in play, and sometimes just staying alive, can win you the game in certain situations when objectives are rolling around. And so you kind of have a couple of abilities that can kind of make that happen, I think. So if you're in an event with maybe 2 out of the 3 scenarios have an objective or something like that, you could do well there, But otherwise straight up, you kind of have you're weak against terrain stuff. If you're taking Hearthguard, weak against shooting. Mounted is also weak against shooting. There can be a lot of bad day matchups for you, unfortunately. So we did, recording this after the Polish Grand Melee. Somebody did win with the Milites Christi, so we're not gonna bag on these guys too bad. At this moment,
no, I think it's a competitive board, definitely.
Yeah, you can definitely load up quite a few attacks and auto hits. So if you're a cunning player, know where to apply the force, I think definitely you can have a good run with these guys. And
I think one of the other downsides with them is the figures. So if you've got it, it's going to be Templars or it's going to be Knights of St. John or the Hospitaliers. They can't really be used for anything else, any of the other boards. So it's not a force you can use several boards with. I suppose you could use them as Crusaders, maybe.
I wouldn't agree with that. Yeah, I would say you could definitely use them as Crusaders, and then also the Ordenstadt. Those guys it's a military order. I don't know if Milites Christi has a specific, really specific definition, but I mean the Teutons are a military order, so I would say you could flip. Back and forth between those board. I don't know if this board is any better.
I don't think I'd want to use the Teutonics board though.
Yeah, I would say it's comparable. It's got a different flavor to it, so you could definitely use like a Teutonic Knights board. I wouldn't hesitate, letting them use them as Milites Christi or Crusaders. So I think there is a little bit there, but they are super. I mean, they look really good. They're probably one of the easiest to paint. I mean, if you got everybody's in the same color scheme, the whites and the red crosses, you can really do really iconic war band and paint it up pretty quickly. I'd say anytime you can use the same colors for everything and have uniforms, I think it works pretty good. And especially if you're using Hearthguard and stuff, it goes quick.
Yeah, you don't need a lot of figures.
Yeah, and then those Fireforge Knights, they got the barded steed, so you're not even...
Yeah, even easier.
You don't have to paint... Yeah, I don't even think that counts as painting horses. You're just painting cloth. Painting cloth's easy. Yeah. That's funny. What models do you...
White, though. I always have problems painting white.
Yeah, white can be definitely challenging. What figures do you use for your Milites?
I bought some pre-painted they're old Essex ones, Templars.
Oh, cool.
That I managed to get.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably quite a few options out there. It has to be one of the most common historical ranges, I would wager.
But the other option is the Hospitaliers, and they tend to wear the black, don't they? The black with the red cross. So that's probably equally as difficult to paint.
Yeah. I think I would rather paint white. If I had to choose between white and black, I've never I've painted it, but I'm never like, oh yeah, that looks good when I'm done with black. You know, it's like, all right, I give up. That'll work. People know. So yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, Austin, and spreading your
No, thanks
knowledge. I
for hosting
definitely
me.
appreciate it. Yeah. How fun are these guys to play? Would you rate them?
Yeah, I think they're fun because they're very aggressive. They get tucked in. Yeah, they're very good. And the awesome mechanic, it's lovely when when it goes well, and somebody throws a load of hits, and you just cancel them all off. It's a nice feeling.
Feels good. Yeah.
And that Eastern Horse, that 10 defense dice, that's quite a giggle as well.
Awesome.
It doesn't last long. You soon realize how to get around it. But
Uh-huh.
the first couple of turns you use it, yeah, it's quite nice.
Okay. Well, good to know. You got a little something in your back pocket here, a little fun. And yeah, like we said, you can definitely find success with these. You know, somebody won the Grand Melee in Poland with them. And yeah, I think it is a fun board. Anytime you have an aggressive board, doesn't have a lot of tricks. Not necessarily too much defense. So when you're taking the other guy's figures off, he's taking off some of yours. So that's usually what happens in a game enjoyed by both players. Puts a smile on your face. So
yeah, so you're doing damage to he's doing damage to you, but again that Orison then kicks in at the tail end of the game where you're now keeping stuff alive, and he hasn't got anything like that to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you start to pull the win.
Better bang for your buck when you start with that high armor, maybe jacking it up with lambs apiece, and then the 1 or 2 hits he does get through, you just cancel outright with having to roll any dice. Not a bad day. Awesome. Well, if anybody out there plays the Milites, please post below if there's any interesting tricks we missed. Let us know. I'd be curious to see how people are running these elsewhere. If you're running crossbows, no crossbows. I do like the sound of those tucker poles and the horsemen providing the shooting versus the crossbows. There's not too much to synergize the crossbows specifically. So, yeah, I think both of those sound like they'll work real well. But I want to thank all the patrons for making this happen. Terry, Patrick, Sean, Mitchell, Kevin, Scott. Austin, you're in there too. Can't forget about you, buddy. Thanks for the monthly cash infusion. That's what's making these videos happen. And couldn't do it without you guys. But I think that's going to be it for this one. What do you say, Austin? Are we done here?
I think so.
All right.
Short and sweet.
All right. Well, have a good one, folks. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye. Saga! If you'd like to see more Saga content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon or popping on down to the Saga Thursday Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.